Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Chris, and I'm one of the Shortcuts educators here. Welcome to our first webinar for today. I apologize, we're starting a little bit late today, but what we're going to be going through today are our cloud features, okay? Just before we get started, there's always a little bit of initial housekeeping. I apologize. I know we've got some familiar faces, so that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much. I apologize. I'm sort of repeating this every week for us, but just for our new members. So the duration of this webinar will be approximately 60 minutes, depending on how many questions we get. Of course, my microphone has been switched on, whereas everyone else just sort of moving forward has been muted. So please don't try and talk to me, but you're more than welcome to drop me some questions throughout or at the end at the question and answer section. Okay. And of course, as it goes without saying, your speakers must, of course, be turned on so you can hear me. So what is the Cloud Appointment Book? So the Cloud Appointment Book is a fully functioning appointment book that synchronizes in real time with your Shortcuts Fusion system. Okay, so it takes into consideration any resources and any capabilities that you have set up, and it can be accessed via any internet-enabled device. Okay, and what's more, it's completely free of charge. Okay, so you won't need to pay for this. So let's take a look at its main features. So you can view all of your services that are currently booked in. You can view your appointment touch tip. You can set up employee access within the application. You can add tasks to your appointment book. So if you want to block out your day for, maybe you've got a rep meeting, maybe you need to cash up, maybe you just want to have a lunch, all of that kind of thing. You can edit and delete tasks on the appointment book as well. And it's fully integrated, as I said, with your capabilities and your resources. Your capabilities being your system knowing who can do what on the system, and your resources being any of your rooms, like your nail bars, your treatment rooms, all of those kind of things. You can apply filters to the appointment book as well, so you can filter your appointment book down. And of course, you can book and manage your appointments on the move, which is going to be a fantastic feature over the next sort of month to 6 weeks while we've got lockdown going on. And of course, moving forward. So you're going to be nice and busy. So outside the salon when you're at home, if somebody does text you, phone you, email you, WhatsApp, Instagram you, all the ways our clients are going to be getting hold of us, we can, of course, open up our cloud appointment book and we can make an appointment for them. And that is, of course, if you want to do it outside of your business hours. You can reschedule appointments as well. So if people do need to reschedule an appointment, you can do that via the cloud. You have what we call a week view. Week as in 7 days, not as in not very strong. You can add and edit client records, which again is going to be great. It's going to give you full control of those client record cards. You can, of course, access your client history. So while we are in the salon, let's say the reception desk is really busy, and if your staff members are allowed to have their phones on them, they can access client history down in the treatment room, in the dispenser area, that kind of thing. You can enter client visit notes, and of course, it is very simple to use, and we're going to get to that towards the end of our session. Okay. So what is cloud reporting and what reports are available? So we've just spoken about the cloud appointment book. Let's talk about cloud reporting. So cloud reporting gives you access to your most essential business reports whilst on the move or from the comfort of your home, all viewable in real time. Now, for this to happen, just to reiterate, ladies and gents, your main Shortcuts Fusion system, that's your desktop system, will have to be switched on and connected to the internet in order for it to synchronize in real time. So what are these reports? These reports are the dashboard, okay? The dashboard is like your all-in-one go-to place. It's probably going to be your favorite place. Employee productivity, okay? That is the productivity of your staff members. The trading summary, very familiar with that, most of us should be. We've got our employee performance report and we've got targets, okay? And we're going to look at all of these reports in depth in just a few moments. So below is going to be a short demonstration of the 5 essential reports available and how to access, but we are going to have a full-on live demo anyway. So you can click onto the menu button at the top of the screen, and on the left-hand side, you can click onto reports. We then see we've got our 5 essential business reports. So dashboard, trading summary, employee performance, and we can open up our targets. Okay, so that is how quick and easy it is to access our reports. So what is the dashboard? Oh, let's go back there. So this is our dashboard. So you can see there's a button right at the top where it says dashboard. Now your dashboard tracks the same days of the week this year compared to the same days of the week last year. You can change the calendar range at the top. If you've got multiple sites, you can filter between multiple sites here. And you can also change whether it's X tax or including tax. Now along the top here, we have 10 KPI tiles, KPI meaning key performance indicators. And underneath that, we have 3 pie charts, which is the same kind of information, but just in a different format, a different platform. And right down the bottom, we have your employee performance table, your graph. Underneath that, we have audit actions. That's essentially anything that caused your business to lose money. And underneath, we have your campaign ROI. Your ROI is your return on investment, okay? And that's usually used for Shortcuts marketing. And that is our dashboard. We'll just stop the video there. So our newest cloud feature, which is Targets, okay? So Targets is a feature we've launched within the cloud appointment book, allowing your staff to track their weekly targets and goals. Targets can be set up for the business as a whole or for each individual employee or both, okay? So however you want to set it up. And it's a fantastic opportunity to keep staff motivated, okay? And for them to take control of their columns. Because they can see this target on their mobile phone, they can see how much money they've made. They can see how close they are to their target. So it kind of gives them the end goal. It gives them that light at the end of the tunnel. Plus the handy and easy to read graphs means means understanding your targets and staying on track really has never been easier. Okay, so we do have some helpful resources. You can learn more. You can email me at education@shortcuts.co.uk. We are currently looking at, if you do drop us an email, we're looking at around a 3 to 4 day turnaround. I'm usually much quicker. For those of you that have emailed me, no, I do try and get back to you within a couple of hours. But at the moment, just with my schedule the way it is, we're looking at 2, 3, 4 days get back to you. But I will get back to you, so please don't worry. If, of course, it is super duper urgent, please do give us a call on 0161 972 4900. Perfect. Okay, so with all of that said, I think it's time we jump into our live demonstration. So what we're going to do is, let's just remove that. What we're going to do is we're going to open up our preferred internet browser. So I've opened up Chrome. Now, Shortcuts Cloud is simply just a website, okay? So that's all it is. It's just a website URL. So you can have it on any internet device you like. Now, there are 2 ways to open up the Shortcuts Cloud system. One is via your online console, just here. This is our online console. Hopefully everyone is familiar with that. So the first way to access our cloud system is in the top right-hand corner. Just here, we can click on where it says Shortcuts Cloud. And that will take us to our cloud appointment book. Give that a couple of seconds to load. Now, the second way, as I said, it's just purely a website URL, is to simply type in the website URL on any internet device you like. That could be your phone, your tablet, your laptop, iPad, anything you like. And the website URL is just pos.shortcutsoftware.com. Okay. Now, if maybe you want to do that on your phone now, you don't have to, but you can open that up on your phone, open up an internet browser page and type in pos.shortcutsoftware.com. Now, it will ask you for a username and a password. The username and password is exactly the same as what you've got for the console just here. So it's the same username and password. Now, you may be thinking, okay, so every time I want to access the cloud appointment book on my phone, I have to type in the website URL, pos.shortcutsoftware.com. Essentially, no. What we're going to do is we're going to save it like an app. Now, I can't stress enough where I say we're going to save it like an app, because it's not an app. We're not going to download it. As we can see, it's just a website URL. So we're going to save it just like an app. So if you've opened up this website URL on an Android, in the top right-hand corner, we're going to click the 3 lines or the 3 dots, and we're going to click the button where it says Add to Home Screen. Okay. Now it's not a shortcuts button, it's an Android button in the top right-hand corner. If you're on an Apple device, down the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a square with an arrow facing upwards. You're going to click on that square with the arrow facing upwards, and again, you're going to scroll left or right, and you're going to click the button where it says Add to Home Screen. Now, don't worry if you're not able to do that now, that's not a problem. Like I said, if you are having trouble, just you can simply Google Add to Home Screen on an Android, Add to Home Screen on an Apple. Okay, it's a fairly common thing. And what that will do is it will save it to the home screen of your mobile phone, so it works just like an app. So you don't have to keep typing the website URL in. So once we are logged into the Cloud Appointment Book, we can now set up other staff members. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't have a username or a password already, you will need to speak to the owners, the managers, or the directors, basically anyone that has access to the online console. So what we're going to go through now is how to set up other staff members once you're logged into the Cloud Appointment Book. So to set up other staff members, all we're going to do is we're going to click where it says menu at the top center of the screen. Over on the left-hand side, we're going to click where it says employees and rosters. And we're going to click onto employees just here. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a whole list of all of your employees. So we've got all of these just here. Okay, now you can fill out all of that particular staff member's personal information. Their photograph will pull through from Fusion as well. But let's say we want to set my staff member here, who is called Chris Test 2, of all things, of all the names. So we're going to set up this staff member so they have access to the Cloud Appointment Book. So we've clicked onto Chris Test 2. And down the bottom of the screen, we're going to click where it says Roles and Login, okay, just down the center bottom. And on the right-hand side, we're going to click where it says Login Access, and we're going to change Login Access to Yes. Now, underneath, we will have a username and an email. Now, you may remember that when you log into your Cloud Appointment Book or when you log into your online console, your username is typically your email address, just to make it nice and easy. So we tend to follow that rule of thumb. So for your staff members, we tend to make their username their email address, just to make it nice and easy. Okay, so I'm going to pop in my username, which is the same as my email address. Oh, let's try that again. Okay, so there's my username, and I'm going to keep my username the same as my email address. Now, why do we have to add an email address in? I can hear you asking. The reason for that is because this particular user will be sent a random password. That is why we require the email, so the password can be sent. They will also be sent the website URL, which as we know is just pos.shortcutsoftware.com. Now, underneath, you will have 2 role types, okay? I'm just using a test system, that's why we've got 3, but you will have 2 role types, but you can, of course, create your own, and we're gonna get to that in just a moment. So your 2 default role types you will have are employee and site manager, okay? And each of those default roles will have their own default role permissions, okay? So what they can see in those role types. So by default, an employee role will have access to their own column only, nobody else's. They will only have access to their own report and their own targets, nobody else's. They will only be able to edit their appointment book during the working hours of the business. Outside of the working hours of the business, they will only have view mode only. So they'll only be able to view their column. But that is by default, we can change it. And the site manager role, again by default, will have access to everybody's column. They will have access to all configuration items. They will have access to all reports and targets, and they can view and edit it outside of the working hours of the business. Now, they're the 2 default roles, employee and site manager, and they also have their own default levels of permissions. Those permissions I just worked through, but you can create your own role and you can chop and change those permissions. So at this point, all we would do is simply choose a role type. So I'm going to choose employee, and we click the done button in the bottom right-hand corner to assign that role. Oh, username Chris D at Shortcuts is already in use. I must have already at some point popped that username in. Okay, but obviously you won't already have that. Okay, so we've now set up my user Chris Test2 with a username and an email. He will be sent a password. To change the password, all they will have to do is simply log in using the password and the username. And then in the top right hand corner, they will see their user profile. They click onto that and simply click change password. Now, I'd always recommend that they do change the password because the default password will just be loads of random numbers and letters. So you may wish to change it something a little bit more memorable. And of course, as we spoke about at the beginning, we spoke about how to save it to their home screen. So you can always just forward them this video, or just if you feel confident enough, just explain how to do that. Okay, so we've set up our user called Chris and we assigned him to the employee role. So now we're going to look at those roles and the levels of permissions and how we can create a new role type and chop and change the levels of permission as well. So at the top of the screen, we're going to click where it says menu. And on the left-hand side, we're going to click where it says general settings. And we're going to click roles. Now you'll see again, I've got 3, you will only have the 2. So there's your 2 role types we spoke about. You've got your employee and you've got your site manager. When you click on employee, you can see how many employees are already assigned to that role type. And underneath, you can see those permissions that I just spoke about, i.e. edit it during the working hours of the business, their own column. Now you might think, okay, that all sounds good, but I just want to chop and change it just a tiny weeny bit, which you can do. You'll see here where the red word where it says permissions is. If we click onto the red word where it says permissions, we can chop, change, and edit those permissions. So underneath, you'll see you've got your permissions categories. If we expand the category, we can then toggle from yes to no and change whatever those permissions are. Now there's lots of different types of permissions here, so do take your time working through each one. And when you're happy, simply click the done button. And that is how you can chop and change those default roles and those default levels of permissions within those roles. Now, what about if you wanted to create your own role type? Maybe one that has slightly higher level of permission than employee, but maybe slightly less levels of permissions than site manager, such as head front of house, site manager, and floor manager, and so forth. So to create your own role type, just down the bottom, we're going to click the new button, just down here. And at the top here, this is where we're going to type in your role type. So we're going to call it head therapist. And I'm going to spell it correctly. Okay, so we've got head therapist. Underneath, you can also assign a staff member to this brand new role type. And if a staff member is already created, such as Business Amelia Class A, you can also upgrade them or promote them to this new role type. Just toggle no to yes, just like that. Now down the bottom, because you have created your own role type, you will have to edit and change the permissions yourself, because you will notice everything is set to no. The reason for this is, of course, we don't know what levels of permission you want to give your brand new role type. So just work through each category and chop and change from no to yes. And we click the done button. And that is it. Simple and as easy as that. We can set up a new staff member, we can assign them to a role, and we can create a new role type and edit and chop and change the role type and the levels of permission. So before I show you how the cloud appointment book works, because that's nice and easy, we're going to leave that to the end. Okay. What we're going to go through now, we're going to go through our cloud reporting. Now, at the top of the screen, we're going to click where it says menu, and we're going to move on to cloud reporting. Okay. Oh, so if I click onto menu, what happened there? Let me just go back. Bear with me 2 seconds. All right, let me try that again. Perfect. Wait for that to load back up. Perfect. So we're going to click onto menu. And on the left-hand side, we're going to click where it says reports just here. And you can see we've got our 5 reports here. We've got our employee productivity, we've got our dashboard, we've got our trading summary, we've got employee performance, and targets we're going to get to towards the end. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start with dashboard, okay? The reason we're going to start with dashboard is this fuses basically all of your reports into one, okay? So this is probably going to be your go-to place. Now, you'll also see at the top center of the screen here, we have a dashboard button. Both of these buttons are exactly the same. One's just a bit of a shortcut. So we're going to click onto dashboard and give it a couple of seconds to download. Now, by default, it will always go to the sort of current working week. So you can see it's gone to the 31st of May to the 6th of June 2020. Okay. You can also change this date range, which is what I'm going to do because unfortunately salons aren't open for the time being. So I'm going to change it to May 2019 and see if we get anything else pull through. Just going to do the whole of May to the end of May 2019. Now, how the dashboard works is it tracks the same days of the week this year compared to the same days of the week last year. So you can track any trends or anything like that. To the right-hand side, if you have multiple sites, you can also change that here. And you can also filter between each employee. You can also view it excluding tax or including tax. Now, as I'm purely using a test system, most of the figures are going to be quite low, but I can still talk you all through it, so it's not a problem. So at the top here, we have our 10 KPI tiles, okay? KPI standing for key performance indicators. So essentially how well our business is doing. So net sales are sales inclusive of services and retail combined, okay? Now, when you look at this yourself, you may see there's a percentage to the top right-hand corner with a little number next to it. Now, as I said, whatever date range you've inputted, it will compare that date range to the same date range the year before. So you can track whether you've increased or decreased. The percentage to the right-hand side will show you whether you've increased or decreased on last year, okay? And you may see a little color, orange, red, or green. Think of that as a bit like a traffic light system. So your average per ticket. A ticket is what we refer to as a transaction. So this is the average spend per transaction. Visits are, of course, how many visits your salon has had within that specified date range. New customer visits, that's how many clients of yours are totally brand new. And rebooking percentage, okay? Now, with Fusion, sometimes for your rebooking report to work, you will have to assign what we call a rebooking credit, okay? Whereas in the cloud appointment book, it's slightly different, okay? So if a client makes another appointment, whether they make it the same day or whether they ring up a couple of days later, as long as that client makes another appointment, it's classed as a rebooking, okay? And that will pull through to here. Service sales are, of course, sales generated from services, and retail sales are, of course, retail sales, so money generated from retail sales. Retail items per ticket, that's how many specific retail products were purchased per transaction. Remember, ticket is a transaction. Retail conversion, that is how many clients came in purely for a service, but they left with a retail product. So they were kind of upsold, okay? So they were due in for a service, but they also left with a retail product. And upsells, again, is anybody that was coming in for a service and left with a retail product. And also anybody that came in for a root tint, but they left with a full head tint. Or maybe they were coming in for a blow dry and they left with a wash, cut and blow dry. Okay, so you kind of upsold their service. Underneath, we've got 3 pie charts, okay? And most of this information replicates what we have at the top. So your sales, that is a pie chart of the types of sales, services, retail, that kind of thing. Booking, visit, and source are how clients make appointments in your salon. So I just had one question come through there. What if clients have booked a block of bookings in advance? Will this show a rebooking? Unfortunately not, Julie. It won't show now as a rebooking. I do fully appreciate that some clients, they like to book all of their appointments at the beginning of the year, so they're all booked in. Unfortunately, when you run this report, it won't class it as a rebooking. However, if you're the kind of salon that is really hot on your rebookings, I would just take that into consideration when you speak to your staff members. Just say, you know, have some of your clients booked in for the entire year. If it's not something you're particularly hot on, then it's not necessarily a big deal. But I know some salons are really hot on rebookings. In that case, unfortunately, not no. But your service sales will still reflect the money being generated. So it's kind of 6 and 2 3s in that respect. But very good question. Booking, visit, and source. This is a pie chart outlining how clients are making appointments in your salon. So live and cloud is what we're going through now. Fusion, that's your main desktop system in the salon. And Google, that's Google My Business, people making appointments direct from Google. And clients visits by status, again, is a pie chart for the kind of clients you're getting through the salon. New, returning, walk-in, all of those kind of things. All fairly straightforward stuff. Now, underneath, we have our employee performance. And again, my salon hasn't been doing too well here. We can see this just here. On the left-hand side, we have a list of all of our staff members. Our second column in is net sales. This is sales derived from services and retail. Now, you will also notice we have these sort of red arrows or green arrows. The red arrow, again, is saying that we have dropped since last year, okay? Now, the monetary values here and the amounts, the quantities here, are not by how much you've dropped or increased. The arrow is just indicating you've increased or decreased, okay? It's not sophisticated enough, unfortunately, to be able to outline exactly how much you have increased or decreased. That would just be, do you know what I mean? So the number here is purely how much you've generated. So average per ticket, that is the average spend per transaction. Visits, that's how many visits this staff member had. Rebooking percentage, that's how many clients rebooked as a percentage. Service sales and retail sales, so money generated from services and money generated from retail. And retail items per ticket are how many specific retail items are purchased per transaction. Now, as we scroll down to the bottom, you will see we have audit actions. Now, audit actions is essentially anything which has caused your business to lose money, okay? Such as no-shows, cancelled, voided transactions, all of those kind of things, okay? When you look at this, you may have an ROI report, which is your return on investment report. That is all to do with Shortcuts Marketing. So if you've been on our Shortcuts Marketing webinars before, you will see the return on investment report there. Perfect, and that is our dashboard. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click the menu button, and we're going to click onto reports, and you're going to look at our employee productivity. Again, give it a couple of seconds to download. Now, the employee productivity report, this particular report, unlike the dashboard tracks the same days of the week this year compared to the same days of the week the year before. Every other report moving forward is totally live, okay? So that won't track it with the year before. So our employee productivity report shows the productivity of our staff members, so how well they utilized their time in the salon. So we've got a list of our staff members on the left-hand side, and then you can see we've got booked hours, okay? These are the hours they were booked out with clients. So these are their busy period, okay? The booked amount is how much money was generated from being blocked out with clients. Available hours is their roster, okay? So it's not how many hours they had left after they were booked out with clients. It's their working schedule. They're 9 to 5, 10 to 8, that kind of thing. Now, the estimated amount of available hours, that would be judging by how much money they've made so far. If they were fully booked, that's how much money they would make in all of their hours, okay? So it would require them to be fully booked for that to be accurate. The next one is utilization. So that is a percentage of how well they utilized their time. So we can see, let's have a look at Jo here. Out of her 238.5 hours schedule, she was only booked out for 4 hours, thus making her just over 1.5% busy, okay? So she utilized 1.68% of her time, which of course isn't very good. What we're looking at, ladies and gents, here, we're looking at really around 70 to 75% utilization, okay? Now, this does also take into consideration any lunches, any breaks, any tasks, anything like that. So please bear that in mind. Then we have percentage of total booked hours. Now, what this does is this gives a percentage for each of your staff members. So think of this as a bit like a slice of the pie. So we can see out of all of the booked hours for clients, Jo had 41% of the total booked hours. Rebecca had 33.33. Sam had 20.51 and Sarah had just 5.13. All of these percentages add up to 100, okay? And then we can see the percentage of total booked amount. So who had the biggest percent of total booked amount? Who had the biggest percentage of money coming into the salon, okay? So we can see Jo had 25.35% of all of the total revenue coming in. Rebecca had 41.94% of all of the revenue coming in. Sam had just under 30 and Sarah had just under 3. And again, all of these add up to 100%. What goes best on that last line? Do you mean the percentage of total booked hours? Yeah. Okay. So essentially, with the percentage of total booked hours, is not really a target for that, unless, of course, you how can I put it? This percentage here, they all add up to 100. So it's letting you know which of your staff members had the most amount of clients booked in. So of course, if one of your staff members was fully booked and the other one wasn't, you'd be looking at around 75 to 25. Ideally, for your utilization, you want your utilization to be around 75%. But as long as everyone's around 50% of total booked hours or 25%, it really doesn't matter. This one here isn't really like a target or anything like that. It's just letting you know who had the most amount of clients. If, of course, Jo had 95% of all of the clients, and Rebecca had 2.5% and Sam had 2.5%, I would be saying to Rebecca and Sam, you need to pull your finger out. Like, out of all the clients we had booked in May, Jo did 95% of them, and you only did 2.5%, which is probably about 5 clients for the entire month. So this one here really isn't a target as such. Perfect. No worries. Number of clients are, of course, how many clients they did. So you can see there how many clients they had. Of course, again, if this number is particularly low, maybe for the month of May, they only had 5 clients. Again, it's not very good. All of this reflects the income and the revenue generated as well. And of course, number of clients. Again, it will give you a percentage of who had the biggest chunk of clients booked out. Now, usually you see a bit of a trend. If Jo has the majority of the clients, she tends to earn the most amount of money and she has the biggest percentage of clients. And then historical revenue per hour is historically looking at their previous services for that month, how much money they tend to make per hour. Now, usually I wouldn't share this with your staff members because they're going to look at that and think, oh, I made £47 per hour. That's how much I should be earning. But of course, there's VAT, there's commission, there's wages, there's overheads, everything to be taken into consideration with that. So we always need to bear that in mind. Perfect. And that is our employee productivity report. So we're going to click menu. We've just looked at our dashboard and we're going to go to our trading summary. Now, hopefully everyone's nice and familiar with the trading summary. You will see as I run these reports, it keeps the same date range that I started with. This is, of course, if there's a particular date range you wish to be looking at. Again, you can toggle between sites. You can view it excluding tax or including tax. And all of these reports, you can also export out to a CSV, PDF file, all of those kind of things, just in case your accountant wishes to see it. Now, hopefully everyone should be nice and familiar with the trading summary. It's a report we typically look at once a day, once a week, that kind of thing. It's basically your day's takings, your weekly takings, all of that kind of thing. But just to break it down just really quickly, It will have your sales, that's services and retail. It's got your prepayments, such as your gift cards, gift certificates. Ticket averages, that's the average spend per ticket. Again, ticket is a transaction. Takings, again, on the right-hand side, that's cash, card, credit, debit card, all of those kind of things, how much money you've taken. And then underneath, you've got the types of customers, new clients, request clients, walk-in clients, and any refunds. Now, the only main difference between the Cloud Appointment Book Trading Summary and your Fusion Trading Summary is on your Fusion Trading Summary, it displays a list of all of your staff members, whereas the Cloud one doesn't, unfortunately, but it's not usually necessary. So all the information is really there for you to really get your teeth into. Perfect. And that is our cloud reporting trading summary. So what we're now going to do is we're going to click where it says menu just at the top of the screen. And we're going to look at employee performance. Now, some of you may have already looked at your performance summary in Fusion. Okay. Now, right at the top, again, we can see we've got that date range. We can toggle between employees. We can toggle between sites, X tax, including tax, and of course, we can export it out. Now, the first table you will see here is all to do with services, okay? So this breaks down their performance. So as we can see, there's a lot of zero. So my staff members haven't been doing too well. This is, of course, because I'm using a test system. So we can see a list of all of our staff members. We got Adam, we got Chris, we got Janine. To the right of that, we can see how much money was generated in services, okay? Unfortunately, none of them have done too well, so I'll be having some stern words. And then we've got service tickets. Now remember, tickets are transactions. So that is how many service transactions Adam or Chris did. Service units are the specific service. That's your cut and finish, your blow dries, your tints, your toners, your nails, your manicures, your pedicures, waxing. Wow, I was on a roll there. So that's all the specific services that they do. Average service per service ticket. That is the average spend per service. So on average, how much money does your client spend per transaction? Average service units per service ticket are on average, how many services are your clients having? So they having just the one, are they having a cut and blow dry? Or are they having a two? They're having a cut and a color. Rebooking, that's how many clients have rebooked. And of course, a rebooking percentage. So as you can see, a lot of this information is shared in some of your other reports, such as the trading summary, the employee productivity, and the dashboard. Rebooking percentage, upsell, that's how many services were upsold. Again, they came in for a root tint, but they left with a full head tint. Came in for a half head, left with a full head. Probably going to be having quite a bit of that around 4th of July. Those root tints are probably going to turn into full head tints, half heads into full heads, cut and blow dries into restyles, and you know the rest. And of course, upsell quantity, how many upsells there were, just in case you monitor that kind of thing. Then underneath, we have a table for retail. And again, it's exactly the same. So we've got how much money was generated in retail, retail tickets, again, how many transactions were retail only, retail units, that's how many retail units were sold, so the shampoos, conditioners, nail varnishes, cleansers, toners, and so forth. Average retail spend per service ticket. So on average, how much money are your clients spending on retail products per ticket, okay? And then average retail units per service ticket. So on average, how many products are they purchasing? Just the one, just the two, three, four, that kind of thing. Okay, it's all on average. So upsell, again, that's people that came in for a service and they purchased a retail product. And the upsell quantity is, of course, how many upsells there were. And retail conversion, that is, again, if they came in for a service, but they left with a product as well. So they were converted from just a service to a service and a retail. And that gives you a percentage there. Now, there isn't really essentially like a target or anything that you want to be going for. The best way to think of it is, of course, in terms of monetary values, you want as many as your clients to be purchasing retail as much as possible. Okay, but there's not really like a percentage of retail conversion. Ideally, I'd probably be saying around 50 or 60% of your clients that come in for a service should really be purchasing a retail product, especially moving forward. But there's no sort of set black or white for that. Okay. Underneath, we have total. Okay, this is the total amount of money generated. So we can see how much money was generated in revenue. That's the services and the retail combined. Average, that's the average spend. And we've got sundry. Sundry is your one-off payment, such as, maybe you're charging for PPE moving forward. Maybe you charge for teas, coffees, refreshments, all of that kind of thing. Then we have gift card and gift certificate, fairly straightforward stuff. Series, that's how much money was generated from series. So maybe if you do a series of 6 blow dries for £150, that kind of thing. So you can track all of that in the cloud reporting, as we can see. As we move to the right-hand side, we can see how much money was given away due to discounts, okay? So that's a good one to keep an eye on moving forward. We don't want to be seeing too many discounts given away. We are going to be in hot demand. Discount/promotion quantity. So how many discounts were given away or how many promotions we're using. If you have promotions set up, that will appear here. And of course, last but not least, we have tips. Tips are if you have the tip button enabled at the point of sale screen. Okay, that typically goes onto a card machine. Then underneath, you will also see we've got hours, and this is very similar to the report we just looked at. This is very similar to the employee productivity report. One main thing to bear in mind and differentiate, the employee productivity report, the one we looked at, the utilization with the percentages, is very, very specific. So for things like worked hours, it will do it to the closest minute. In this report, you will see worked hours is to the closest hour. Okay, so this is a bit more generalized, this one. But again, we can see how many hours they were booked out with clients. The average per worked hour, so how much money they make on average per worked hour. Average tickets per hour, so on average, how many services do they perform per hour? So they're getting through just the one service per hour, or are we getting 2, maybe 3 for our therapists and things like that? Average service spend per hour. So on average, how much are our clients spending on their services per hour? Now, of course, the more services you do per hour, the higher that number will be. So if you're getting through 2, 3, 4 services per hour, the average spend would, of course, be greater. Okay. Average service tickets per hour, or on average, how many services we do per hour again. Okay. How many transactions we're getting in the hour. So of course, if you're finding the average service ticket is less than 1, basically means we might be taking too long to do those cut and finishes, those blow dries. Now we do have to take into consideration when we do reopen, it's going to be quite some time since we've, held our scissors and combs, nail varnishes, and so forth. So you do have to take that into consideration as well. And of course, you may be looking at a new staff member that is slightly fresher to the salon floor. And last but not least, right down the bottom, we have customer visits. Okay. So these are all of the kind of clients we get through the salon. Now, a lot of this information you will also see is shared in the dashboard. So we can see our visits. We can see our walk-in, how many walk-in clients we had, our percentage of walk-in clients, new clients, percentage of new, returning, male, female. As I scroll down, male, female, child, and unspecified. So we can see the kind of clients we're getting. So we want to keep an eye on that. We want to see how many new clients we're getting, how many returning clients we're getting, all of those kind of things. Okay, moving forward, we want to keep an eye on that. And that is our employee performance report. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a target. Okay, so we're going to click onto menu, and you'll see we've got the targets report here. That's where we're going to track it, but we need to set the target up first and foremost. So to do this, we click onto menu and we click employees and rosters. And you'll see it says targets setup. Now you can set the target up for a business, you can set the target up for each individual staff member, or you can set it up for both. Now, for the time being, all of the targets are weekly. Okay. The reason for this is because it's psychologically easier to hit a weekly target rather than a monthly target. But we are looking in adding in a fortnightly, 3 weekly, monthly, and so forth. Okay. So I'm going to set my target up for the business as a whole. Now you'll see here we've got loads of parameters. We've got net sales, service sales, retail sales, average spend, and so forth. You don't have to fill all of those out if you don't want to. If you just want to do net sales, or if you just want to do service sales, you can do. You do not have to fill out all of them. And underneath you can see we've got including tax or excluding tax. Okay. I would always do it X tax. The reason for this, whenever you look at all of your reports, I would always recommend excluding tax, because if you can imagine, it gives you a bit of a false sense of security, because if you include tax, that tax that is being included unfortunately does have to be paid. Okay, so I'd always review all of your reports excluding tax. A top tip there for you. So let's set this target up. So I'm going to say my net sales for the week are £10,000, okay? And I'm going to click the done button. But of course, if you wanted to set a target up for each staff member, you would just do so on the left-hand side. So I've set up my target, a weekly net sales of £10,000. So I'm going to click done. Perfect. And my target has now been set up. So what we can now do is we can track that. Now, if we just circle right back to the beginning, when we were talking about permissions and levels of permissions, just to reiterate, by default, your employee role type will only have access to their own target, okay? Not anybody else's. But of course, you can change that. So let's track this target. So we're going to click menu. And exactly the same as before, we're going to click reports. And you're going to click where it says targets. Yep, so good question. If I just go quickly back to that. So setting up the target. So net sales, is that net sales, is that inclusive of sales? It's inclusive of services and retail combined. Okay, so if I just move this out of the way, net sales will combine services and retail together. So it's kind of how much money landed in your net. And the other one was, can you do a monthly target? No. For the time being, they're only weekly. Before COVID, it was something we were looking at changing it to fortnightly, 3 weekly and monthly. But COVID, we kind of had to add other things in to get things moving forward. But we are going back to that. Hair and retail. Yes, absolutely, Liz. Yeah, hair and retail together. All money into the business. If you just want to do services, which would just be your hair and or beauty, that would be the service sales section just here. And of course, retail would just be your products. But services is hair and retail. Basically, all money into the business combined. So if you basically have a target of we must make £10,000 per week, however that may be, services, retail, everything, that's what your net sales are. So once we've set our targets up, we can track this target. So we click the menu button and we click where it says reports in the bottom left-hand corner. Over to the right-hand side, we're going to click targets. Okay, and it presents us with a bar graph just here. In the top left-hand corner, we can see our target is £10,000. And we can see here our net sales. This is how much money we've generated so far. So I've not done too well. I've generated £0. So because of that, I am 100% below my target, okay? I've generated nothing out of my £10,000 weekly target. Now, as we look at our graph on the left-hand side, yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Same here. As we look at our bar graph on the left-hand side, we can see our monetary amounts. So depending on what your target is, your monetary amount on the left-hand side will change. Mine goes in £2,500 increments. That's because my target is 10 grand. Now down the bottom, we have our days of the week. We've got Sunday, we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Perfect. I wanted to go into the Happy Days tune, and if anyone's familiar with the Happy Days tune, sorry, I just wanted to go into that. And then underneath, we have our a little color key. So we've got our gray dashed line. That is our target. Now, how this works is it lets you know what you make each day and how much money you are below your target each day. So if we have a look at Sunday, we are right on target purely because it's the beginning of the week. But if we have a look at Monday, you can see from Sunday to Monday, we generated nothing. So net sales were nothing. So because of that, we are £1,667 below our target. It works out what you need to make each day to hit your weekly target. So on that Monday, to hit my weekly target, to be right on track, I would need to make £1,667. By Tuesday, I've still not generated any money, and I'm now £3,333 below my target. Again, it lets you know what you need to make that day. So it's a great way for your staff members to think, do you know what? I'm only £50 below my target today. Let's try and upsell that service. Let's try and upsell that retail product, that kind of thing. What can we squeeze? Can we push ourselves a little bit more? By Wednesday, as you can see, I'm now £5,000 below my target, Thursday, Friday, and by Saturday, I'm 10 grand below my target. I've not done very well. So the solid blue line is your actual amount of money you've generated. Okay, so as you can see, I didn't generate any money any day, as it is for most salons. Well, I should imagine all salons for the time being. And that is our target. That is how we can track. Now that's totally live. So if you book an appointment in, it will adjust your target accordingly. And that is cloud reporting and targets. Now, as we draw to a close on our first webinar this afternoon, we are just under the hour marker there. What we're going to do is go through how to make appointments in the cloud appointment book. So if we click onto appointments, this will open up our appointment book. So you can see I've already got quite a lot in. Someone's been practicing. So this is our cloud appointment book. Now I am using a test system. So just to let you know, you will not have the percentages next to your names, okay? But it will pull through any photographs, it pulls through capabilities, resources, anything like that. So let's have a look at our cloud appointment book. So in the top left-hand corner, we can see we have our calendar just at the top here where it says Wednesday, the 3rd of June. We can click onto this and we can navigate to any particular month. And we can choose any particular day within that month. Okay, so let's jump straight to the 4th of July. Down the left-hand side, you can see we have our appointment intervals, 9, 9:15, 9:30, and so forth. Now, each of our staff members, you will see has an hour marker. So we've got 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m. This is just to make it nice and easy when you make an appointment on your mobile phone and your tablet. Down the bottom of the screen, you will also see we have 5 buttons. Again, very similar to our Shortcuts Fusion. Clicking on these will navigate us forward, a week forward, a day backward, a week backward, and so forth. And of course, at any point, we can click on the Today button. Now, you may also notice we have this red line which runs through the day on today. This lets us know where we're up to in the day. Okay, so we can see we're just coming up to 1 p.m. Okay. Now, what about if you wanted to filter your appointment book down? So maybe you wanted to filter it via capabilities, maybe you wanted to filter it via people that are working. In the top left-hand corner, you will see we have this funnel upside down. It's a bit like a triangle. So we can click onto these 3 lines just here underneath the Shortcuts logo. And we can start to filter our appointment book down. Now, if you've already filtered your appointment book down in Fusion, this is very, very similar. So you should be familiar with it. If not, there's loads of different ways you can filter your appointment book down. Via rostered on, those people that are set to work today, via gender, alias, employees, and so forth. So I'm going to filter it down. I'm going to make my life easier, and I'm just going to filter it down just so I'm looking at Preeti. So I'm just going to click Preeti, click apply, and you'll see it only shows me Preeti. Okay, so it makes your appointment book a little bit more streamlined. Now, if of course you want to remove this filter, all you need to do is take the tick away in the top left-hand corner. And that will revert it right back to how it was. Perfect. So I'll just revert that back. So the all-important bit, let's make an appointment. So I'm going to make an appointment in Jay's column. So I'm going to move on to Jay's column just here. I'm going to find the time. I'm going to make an appointment at 1:15. So I'm going to click onto just here or tap onto it if you're doing this on your mobile phone. At the top, we have a big white box. This is where we can search for existing customers in our database. Okay, so clients already in your Shortcut system. Underneath, we've got recent customers, checked out customers, that's people that paid for today, and any remaining customers for today. So anyone already booked into your appointment system. Now down the bottom, you will only have 2 icons. You will have the new button and you will have the task button. Okay, you won't have the break button, so don't worry about that. Task is where you can schedule a task such as lunch. I know some of us don't usually take those, we're too busy. Whatever tasks you have set up in your Fusion system will pull through. And you can, of course, click the new button. The new button will add a brand new client into your system. So let's say you've got your cloud appointment book on your mobile phone and the reception desk is really busy. A new client comes through the door, you can add a brand new client into your system. So it works a bit like an extension of your reception desk, okay? So let's search for a customer. So let's search for Chris. There we go. So we're going to click on to Chris just here, a customer already in my database. We can see all of the personal information regarding this client. We can add any notes to this appointment. You know, maybe they're running late, maybe, you know, anything you need to be made aware of. And then underneath, I see someone just made an appointment as well. And then underneath, you can also see we have any future appointments, and you can see any alerts. So this is any alerts that will pull through from main shortcuts as well. So all we're going to do is we're going to continue making an appointment, and we're going to click the next button, or you can click services. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to click on to next. You can search for categories. You can search for services. You can see any previous services that this client has had, or you can just simply choose any service category. Okay, so I'm going to choose a fade. That's a previous service. I'm going to click onto that. And down the bottom, you can see here's the appointment. It's a fade. The employee is J. We can tick this box if it was requested. So if this particular client requested J, and we can see the total amount. So all we're going to do is literally click done. Okay, and you can now see the appointment has been made. Now, what about, as I'm sure you're familiar in normal Shortcuts Fusion, you can make the appointment longer and shorter. So what you'll notice, if you place your finger or your cursor in the bottom right-hand corner, you can click and then just drag down and make the appointment longer and shorter. The idea behind this is you click for a split second, or you place your finger on it for a split second and then swipe down. Now, as I'm sure you're also probably familiar in Shortcuts Fusion, you can move the appointment around the appointment book. Oh, I think somebody just deleted my booking. No worries. We'll use one of the other ones. I think somebody's not aware we're on the webinar and they're using the test system as well. No worries. We'll use one of these other appointments. So let's use John Henry just here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag, and we're going to move the appointment around. We can just move it back. Now, as I'm sure you're all familiar with your main shortcut system, when you right click an appointment, you can arrive the client, cancel the client, and so forth. Okay. So you may be thinking, well, how do I right click if I'm doing this on my mobile phone or my tablet? Because we don't have a mouse plugged in. So all we're going to do to replicate a right click command. Oh, there's my client back there. Let's just move that back up. We'll continue using that. So to replicate a right click command, all we're going to do is we're going to tap onto it or click onto it. And you see it brings up this box just here. Okay. This is what we call the touch tip. And in the bottom right hand corner, if we click on the three dots, this opens up your right click command. So we can arrive the client, we can no show, await review, cancel, reschedule, rebook, change appointment, customer history, and appointment log. Now, customer history, which is where all of the client's history will sit. So any visit notes that have been stored in Shortcuts Fusion will appear here. So it all synchronizes, okay? So again, if you've got your mobile phone on you, or if you've got the cloud appointment book on a tablet, and the reception desk is really busy, you can grab your mobile phone, grab the tablet, and you can access your color notes. You can also update them, and they will feed directly back to your main shortcut system. Okay. Now, you're not able to check a client out. You're not able to pop the till or anything like that, but you can add the client to the point of sale screen. So maybe if you've got your client in the styling chair or the treatment room, all of those kind of things, you can add the client to the bill, the point of sale screen, and then when they get to the reception desk, they can then check the client out. Very good question. Will sanitation show after you've made an appointment on cloud? I presume, Lorraine, have you set up like a second block for your sanitation? I think I went through it in one of my other videos. Is that what you're alluding to? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it will show. So if you have multiple blocks set up, such as sanitation, that will all pull through. Everything synchronizes with your main shortcut system. So you'll have all of those block 2, block 3, all of those kind of things will appear. Very good question. Perfect. So the last thing I'm going to do is simply cancel this appointment. So again, I'm going to tap onto it. I'm going to click the 3 dots to replicate my right click command. And I'm just going to click cancel. And exactly the same, we've got the reasons just below. We do have to choose a reason to cancel the appointment, such as cancelled, no show, cancelled by customer. So I'm going to click cancelled, no reason, and I'm going to click delete. And the appointment is gone. And that will delete it from your main shortcut system as well. So there we have it, ladies and gents. A touch over the hour mark there. I do apologize if anyone had anything else doing afterwards or anything like that. Apologize about that. I think I started a little bit late as well. But there we go. That is our cloud appointment book, our cloud reporting, targets, and of course, finishing up with how to make an appointment. Do have a play around with it. It's very, very, very similar to your main shortcut system. Please feel free to drop me any questions. I did have some come through, so I'm going to answer those now. No worries at all. Yeah, no worries at all. I will just say, in terms of sending out the videos, they're probably going to be around 3 or 4 days. It's probably going to be probably early next week now, by the time they're all uploaded and sent across to you, that kind of thing. But yeah, no worries. Perfect. Any other questions for me this afternoon? Also as well, you may have already seen it, it may have already happened, is at the end of the webinar, you may be prompted to go to this screen just here. It's basically just so you can just drop a little bit of feedback on the webinar. If you've already done it before, that's great. Thank you very much. It's just to ensure I always want to ensure I offer the highest level of service and I give as much as I can with my webinars. It will probably take literally 2 to 3 minutes of your time. I would be really appreciative if you could do that. It does drop you into a prize draw as well if you do fill those out. But thank you ever so much if you have already done so. I hope everyone's found it informative and enlightening. Perfect. Any other questions for me this afternoon? No worries. If not, hopefully it just means I've managed to answer as many questions through the actual webinar session itself. Okay. So give that just a couple more seconds there. I think that is it for all of the questions. If you are on my webinars later on and you do think of anything, of course, please do let me know. Perfect. Okay. So I think that's it for all of the questions. Thank you ever so much for joining me this afternoon. Hopefully speak to you all again soon. If I don't, all stay safe and have a lovely rest of your week. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye.